Hey Gooners, this is Alan Smith.
This is Kevin Campbell.
Lee Dixon.
Colin Lewin.
It's Gary Lewin.
Charles Watts.
Dan Potts.
James Benge.
Danny.
Tom from the Gooner Talk here.
Ryan O'Cross.
Simon Collins. You may know me from the Evening Standard.
You may know me for my time at Arsenal.
You may know me from Arsenal or even the Highbury squad.
I'm a Birdcat Wonderland.
Being that physio sat on the bench next to Arsenal with my rubber gloves on.
The former Arsenal physio.
The Emirates press box, from writing, from Twitter.
From goal.com, from Twitter, from YouTube.
Football is the beautiful game and it brings us all together.
Sometimes there are things even more important than wins and losses.
And yes, even transfers.
Every 30 seconds, someone in this world gets diagnosed with blood cancer.
The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society works towards curing blood cancers
And provides support to families currently dealing with these diseases.
Gooners vs Cancer was started in 2017
by a lifelong Gooner who lost his father to leukemia way too young.
Since 2017, Gunners v Cancer has raised
Over $75,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
and we need your help to keep the fundraising going in this year's campaign.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
No matter the size.
And every donation enters you into the Gooner raffle,
where you have a great chance to win amazing Arsenal prizes,
including game tickets, stadium tours,
signed men and women's shirts.
And maybe a retro signed shirt by yours truly, Lee Dixon.
Me, yours truly.
Yours truly, Super Kev Campbell.
and so much more.
It's easy to take part.
Just go to www.goonersvcancer.com
and donate directly to the charity. Pick the raffle prizes you want to enter to win,
and wait for the drawings at the end of the campaign.
Again, that's www.goonersversuscancer.com.
We all know that victory grows out of harmony.
Victory grows out of harmony.
Victory grows out of harmony.
With your help, we'll be victorious against blood cancer once and for all.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks for your support.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Elliot, was that the longest on a podcast that you have not spoken in history?
I mean, Paul answers some of the questions, so no, not the longest.
I was about to say.
But I want you to know I'm going to get even, so
yes,
don't you worry.
All right, Elliot, Arsenal, go.
No, I want to know whose team he would pick. That was a genuine thing.
We actually did. Oh, and you know what? We never even asked. We never even got the chat's comment.
Ryan's still there. It's fine.
Yeah, let me scroll.
Owen only wants to know because he thinks he's going to win.
I do think I'm going to win. Ball knowledge, bro.
We got Geeks of Muckleby, which might be one of other than Peenyween. I think it's one of the best names on here. Owen winning and me finishing fourth. That's got to be a piss take. My team certainly wasn't fourth. Congratulations. Ryan's team wins, says Christian. So we've got Owen 1, Ryan 1. We've got Tom saying I've won.
I would just ask Elliot. That would be
yeah. Elliot, you are the decider. And remember, I'm your favorite.
Okay, yep. Aston was the best. What am I voting on? I just now that I've picked, what am I voting on?
Sound like every American at every election ever.
The best.
I am now the president.
Yes, the best starting.
Couldn't go any worse than the way things usually go in these things.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, yeah, this will cut into too much time, but this is Aston's 11. We just did a draft basically of all the.
It was an all-time Arsenal.
No, 1986 and later, with the exception of managers. So it's
and
basically
it was a draft. So you guys just went like in order.
Yeah,
we went in order, then we switched the order up and so on to keep it even, but we couldn't select the same people. So that was Aston's team.
Who picked Kai Havertz?
We would have had to have had a lot more participants in order to get
the hard part is figuring out if you're going to pick Havertz at striker or left 8. Could you pick him twice? Could you draft him to play left 8 and then draft him again to play striker?
Personally, I would put him in at inverted goalie.
Yeah,
that's the next move. Next level.
Ryan, when you go back and watch the last hour later, when you catch up on the 7 hours that you've missed so far, then just direct message me your vote, and that way we don't have to spend a quarter of your time on here talking about something that we've already done. So yeah, I think Ryan is probably the winner. So next up in the studio, a man who knows a thing or two about podcasts, one of the truly good ones in the podcasting game, which is full of good people, a guy whose show very recently surpassed the Gooners Podcast in viewership by over 100,000 subscribers. Welcome to the pod of the visionary of the Arsenal vision, Elliot Smith, aka YankeeGunner.
Oh, I thought we were getting someone else on. I was like, who's the person he's introducing? Like, who's coming on?
It's that I spend so much time writing these introductions that I'm going to shoehorn the goddamn thing in, even if it's 14 minutes into the show. So.
I want to warn everybody. I've invited the Disco Boys, our Discord people, to come be in the chat here. So if it gets totally off the rails and inappropriate,
I love it. I appreciate it. I can't say I haven't noticed that in the numbers, and so I will take this time to do some housekeeping real quick and say we are all here to not only have fun but to also raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is the charity that Gooners v Cancer currently supports. And you can go to goonersvcancer.com, learn more about the guests that we still have coming up on the remaining 21 hours of the pod. You can catch up on the remaining 19 or 20 different prizes that we're going to be giving away to people who donate. And so far in the Pod-A-Thon week, where we started collecting for the Podathon on Tuesday and have continued to go on through now, we are at a total funds raised of $9,870. We're getting really close to $10,000 for the Podathon alone, which is fantastic. And for the summer, which began in Washington, D.C. with the first visit of the team less than 2 months ago, we've just crossed the $25,000 mark, so $25,130.49. I am thrilled. I am very appreciative. I'm touched, and thank you for doing that. Get your
Elliot, checkbook out, people. Let's do it.
Get
pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up.
Shove that checkbook into the disk drive. And have you watched the telemarketers?
I was the telemarketer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, you get your check, you slide it into the hard drive. The files are inside the computer. I mean, come on.
So I wanted to say real quick. Elliot, and I can call you Elliot, right? Or is it Mr. Yankee? Is that how I should address you?
I mean, both of those things are better than what I'm normally called in digital spaces, so I'll take whatever you're going with.
Now, you brought the Disco Boys here, but if they come, they're going to have to pay the toll, and that toll is a donation to GVC. If you're going to come and you're going to cause a ruckus, plus, I want to ask you, do you know where you are? You can literally not sink any lower than this podcast. There is no bar that can be lowered here by your presence. So go wild, Disco Boys. Go wild.
I see you and raise you the carpet chat, which is a real podcast that started inside our Discord. And I logged on the Discord one day. You know, it's a Discord for our podcast. I log on and the Disco Boys are all like, oh, listen to the carpet chat. Listen to the carpet chat. I'm like, what's the carpet chat? They're like, oh, two of the guys in here started it and they post the links to it in the Discord. And they're like, sign up for the carpet chat. And I'm like,
you're literally spawning podcasts.
It was Podception. Yeah. But they're brilliant. Yeah. You know. It's like Total Recall, the Quaddle, the guy that grows out of the stomach. They're like the powerful podcast growing out of my stomach, like in Total Recall.
The question is, when they stop podcasting, when does the podcasting actually stop? Are we in the podcast right now? Are we in the podcast within the podcast, or is this?
I mean, I don't know. Is time moving faster or slower in this podcast? I'm sure for you guys right now, it feels like it's moving much slower, which means you are the podcast like 3 layers down. I think.
Oh, and was it you? Was it you or Rick that I was telling about the dream I had when we were at Highbury about how I woke up and I knew I was in a dream, and then I woke up and I was still in a dream, covered in my own vomit in a tube station?
I think it might have been me, maybe now that you say it, but I'll be super honest. I immediately check out when people start telling me their dreams. It's like, nah, it's fucking boring, bro.
You seem to interact with me. Thank you, Dial Square One, by the way.
No, I just nodded. That's me on autopilot.
Yeah, well, okay. I can accept that.
Can we jump into that ticketing conversation conversation now? Because I feel like we should talk about that ticketing conversation.
We can, but of course, what we didn't share with you, Owen, is that Aston's prepared a number of topics to talk about with Elliot, and I wanted to cover one really quick beforehand. So, can we keep that in our holster for just a second?
No,
Elliot, and this is a heartfelt thing, but I've noticed, in recent years, a pretty positive change in your interpersonal game in recent years, as far as you approached me a couple years ago for something that ultimately never ended up happening, unfortunately, due to COVID.
No, you said you didn't have the lube with you at the time, and we just never found another opportunity. But
that was the other thing. I'll never forget.
Is this going out over the internet?
It is forever.
Let me see. Oh, the standing behind my computer.
Add it to the list. Just Google horse moth, and
oh God,
I can't be embarrassed on the internet.
To me, which I took to heart. You're like, I obviously I got this I'm paraphrasing now. I got this podcasting thing down pretty well, but you've got the social game. You know the people that need to be known, and you socialize with them, and you go and you visit and you do all these things, and can we work kind of together to bring those two things together? And although that event never happened, I mean, it's pretty clear that, it's either come naturally, you've made a point to kind of integrate yourself more in the social game, not just be this guy behind the microphone on a podcast to, putting out information and corralling and herding cats. And I think that's fantastic because, it's only accelerated your growth and the people that know you and what they know you for. So I just, there's not really a question there other than, was it something you really just kind of said, this is a big area that I'm missing because I love to see it.
I think what happens in life is sometimes you find an opportunity where you can add value and where you can fill a white space. And I learned pretty quickly that there's a lot of really good people in the Arsenal world who do a lot of drugs and don't have a dealer. So I decided, if I could provide them their drugs, then ultimately they would do me favors, or I would out the fact that they've been taking these drugs. So it's worked really nicely. And
I hope this is an analogy or like a metaphor.
No, I deal drugs.
He's really a drug dealer. He's hooked me up several times. By the way,
that's
thanks.
Literally it. There's mescaline in this old fashioned right now, actually. No, I appreciate what you're saying, Mike. I think ultimately, honestly, this. If you just support Arsenal long enough and go out and meet people enough, you're going to meet amazing people who will be kind to you and generous with their time and generous with, Andrew, Arseblog, right, is one of my absolute heroes because my love for Arsenal grew as a part of reading his blog and listening to his pod, who became one of my absolute dear friends, only because he's a great guy and was willing to tolerate listening to me talk a bunch of shit nonstop until he finally gave in. And Clive obviously takes Zoloft. You can hear that in his voice, by the way. But yeah, so I think the thing that makes Arsenal a special club that we all love is it's inclusive. It's there's a unity about it. It's funny, right? We tear strips off each other over our opinions on the internet. That's just how the internet works. But you get together with Arsenal people and it's just all love and it's all togetherness. And I think it's a really special thing. And obviously what you do with Gooners versus Cancer and the immense work you put into it, the way people respond to that is just a reflection of the community as a whole. So yeah, other than the drug dealing, it's also, I think, just a reflection of the character of the community. Yeah.
Well, and I've really enjoyed watching it. And, everywhere I go now, everyone's asking me, is Elliot going to come to this event? And of course you're coming to the Great Florida Gooner Fest in December. I mean, I'm announcing that right now, even though you haven't decided to do it yet.
I literally go to whatever's going on. People are just you again.
That's how you.
To be fair, I learned that from you, Mike. That people are like, you're still here.
But you should see some of the looks I got at the Arsenal Supporters Trust event because everyone, from the club had known that I was basically just, one of a handful of people like Ryan and Craig from Fort Lauderdale that were in all of the cities at all of the events, and the team kept seeing the same people. But then I pulled the extra step and I went to London straight from there, and I'm at this Arsenal Supporters Club thing, and the look on Stu McFarlane's face when he saw me at that event,
this guy again.
it was disgust. It was an eye roll, a disgust, a like, what the hell are you doing here? And then he was a little friendly, but It's fun.
Well, I got to say, Mike, you actually have to step. And I know asking you wanted to jump in here, but like there is a Midwest Gooner meetup happening in October. There's going to be news about that. I'm going to make the sacrifice of being there. And just to give you an idea of my commitment level, it is happening over 25-minute drive from my house. And I am going to be there. So, if I can do that.
You could almost Uber from there.
I mean, almost, yeah.
You could almost afford an Uber there and back so that you don't have, so that you can drink.
Exactly. So, I expect anybody who wants to be a part of that, please come. Would love to see everybody, meet everybody.
Awesome. Well, better words were never said. So Aston, I'm gonna take a back seat and hand it over to you because you came up with some great things to talk to Elliot about.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to go back to this comment real quick because it kind of reminds me of something Elliot was just saying about how inclusive we all are. Part of that might be because we all kind of needed therapy after the banter era. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like a group healing thing that we did together that eventually spawned all these different events. And that's, I think, a really cool story for any fan base. What I kind of wanted to talk with you a little bit about, again, Mr. Yankee, if I'm allowed to call you that.
I prefer it, actually. Yeah. Those
I'm
were
going
the
to keep
terms
that up this whole podcast.
Those were the terms we agreed to ahead of the show. Yeah.
Someone showed him some respect.
But you have had an explosion of visibility inside of this community, and it's kind of given you this kind of unique standpoint. I mean, you're kind of in the eye of the storm a lot of the time. I mean, you're also in the storm. Sometimes you are the storm, but you kind of get to see the temperature of the room that is kind of the Arsenal fan base. And I was wondering, especially with the change in, I guess, status and position that we were in from last year to this year, how are you feeling about the overall, like, again, the temperature, the fan base? How's everybody compared to last year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I can answer it, I think, most succinctly by reading a tweet, if you'll allow me. This is from Tactigol, Tacti, Tactigol on Twitter. And he says, I'm a self-made millionaire, mate. I would not consider you successful in the slightest. You're laughed at in the Arsenal community and look like a toad. So, I think
that makes so much sense.
Yeah, when you think about it, like, that's why I feel the love in my heart that I do for this community. All kidding aside, your point is a good one. The question is a really good one. I think here's the problem, right? If you think about how dynamic a live conversation is at a pub or, people just talking, or when you're hanging out at your house, whatever it is, there's a lot of give and take and joking around, and tone is there and expression is there, and the people. In digital spaces, all of that is absent. And we care about this stuff so much that I think when we disagree or see things differently, there's a tendency to be outraged. In fact, I think back, I'll age myself here a little bit because I know it doesn't look like it on camera, but I'm in my my early 30s. There's a movie, Animal House, and they're hazing a guy who's pledging their fraternity. Okay. And another fraternity does something bad to him. And the guys say, they can't do that to our pledges. Only we can do that to our pledges. And I think there's a bit of that in the Arsenal world, right? I can criticize the club or the players, but the outsiders can't, right? So we do a really good job of circling the wagons when the outsiders do. Like when Gary Neville's got some shit to say, we got each other's backs, right? And I just wish that we would have a little bit of understanding that if I say I think this player's playing well or not playing well, or this guy's good or that guy's bad, or this signing's good or that signing's bad, ultimately we all want the same thing, right? Which is for Arsenal to be as successful as possible. Some people cope with the tension of sports by being relentlessly positive. I love Arsenal. I love everything Arsenal does. I love the players. I love we lost. You know what? We'll win the next one, guys. I love you. And some people deal with the tension of sports by being miserable. I often quote like Fever Pitch, the movie Fever Pitch, right? The main character of Fever Pitch, who is the quintessential, I mean, we might, I don't want to know what's in the vape. I just trust you.
I was trying to get Aston on the full screen when you were talking about the positive guy, and then I was going to go over to Owen.
Yeah, well, it was nearly right. It was just off by one square. But the quintessential sort of film character Arsenal supporter is a miserable bastard who whines about the club all the time. We all have different ways of dealing with it. And that's because our lives are hard. Our lives are complex. Our lives have challenges. Everyone is going through their own thing in their own personal life. And sport is where we pour our hopes, our dreams, our frustrations, our energies in a way that doesn't have to be the mortgage payment, the kid, raising the kids, you know, the relationship with our partner, the challenges at work. So I get it. But overall, I think, Aston, like by and large, if you are just willing to communicate with people in a conscientious and considerate way, you get that back in return. And while people will complain endlessly about the toxicity of online spaces, I just don't see that. I just feel, I mean, apart from the guy who thinks I look like a toad, which fair enough, right? A lot of toad-like qualities. I think by and large, the conversation is a good one. But when emotions get as peaked as they do over sport, you're going to see a lot of reaction. So I think it's just natural.
And this is my question, right? Compared to like last year, do you feel that we're just as together as we were, that we're just as backing the team as we were? I feel like we are. I think there's a lot of, I think that because we're in the position that we're in, and we're obviously going to draw a lot of attention, a lot of people want to see our downfall. So therefore, those small little cracks, you would say, in the fan base are going to get super duper put under a microscope and put on every single, news station. Talk Sport's got to talk about it. You know, did Arteta celebrate too much? Do Arsenal think that they're so great because they beat the mighty Manchester United? You know, all of the different stories. But the question here is are we ready to win a Premier League? Is this fan base ready to take the stresses that come along with that level of expectation? Because last year we kind of got a free hit, right? Last year, nobody expected us to come in for the Premier League. So that level of expectation wasn't there. So the stress wasn't there. Even when we were very, very close, a lot of us were still able to write off that league. Now that the expectation is there, do you see the stress of going for the league title kind of change how the fans' dynamics with the team and the players?
100%. And by the way, it should. Like, I loved last season. We were the darlings of the league in a way. We are a giant, mighty European club, but we got to feel a little bit like the underdog, the Cinderella at the ball last season. And that was brilliant. But we should have expectations. It is okay to say we should be challenging. And look, everybody understands the financial proprieties of how Manchester City have been built and why they have an advantage that was ill-begotten. But that's the job. The job is to go finish above them. I don't have a problem with people feeling differently about this season. We have, according to most metrics, the most valuable squad in the world right now. It's still a young one, but it's loaded with talent. And it should compete, in my view. And we have arguably the best non-Pep manager in the world who should be able to get us competing. And so, like, I think it's good for us to have expectations. You know, the reality, though, is that is going to create more tension than last season had. Last season, we were just happy for just happy to be here. We shouldn't just be happy to be here anymore. And I think if the team are going to win titles, then it's only right that the fans should start to expect the team to win things. And the team themselves should stop thinking of themselves as the plucky underdog and think of themselves as the bully. You know, the Invincibles beat teams in the tunnel. This team needs to develop that now because they're good enough to beat teams in the tunnel. But when you're 2-0 up against Forest and you let them get back to 2-1 and you make it nervy at home in a game like that, or you're 2-1 up on Fulham and they're down to 10 men and you let them come back, until you get that stuff out of your system, teams are always going to think they're in it. We need to stop giving those teams a chance to think they're in it. So you're absolutely right, Aston. Like this season, it's not that we're less together. It's that there's expectation. Yeah. But expectation is what good clubs, good teams have. If we don't have expectations, it means we're not very good. So I welcome those expectations. And I think we should be putting the pressure on, because you don't win anything when no pressure is on. We saw that last season. We're 100-point pace until April, so we need to thrive under pressure. That's the next step.
Yeah, it's almost like
Elliot, I was just going to ask, there was a lot made in the media about the level of celebrations that we had last year, not only from the stands but on the pitch itself. What do you make of those claims that we're too emotional to sustain any kind of pressure for the duration of a full season? Do you give that any back in at all?
Well, I think this is interesting because there is a celebration police, but there's no celebration criminal code, and there's no celebration jury, and there's no celebration judge. So what do those police do? Because I feel that they are abusing their power because there is no legal system or infrastructure built to enforce those celebration laws. So I think we do have to take that into consideration. Am I still on, by the way? I feel that I've
you're
frozen.
Still on. You're
okay.
You're just frozen.
That's really weird.
Yeah, we can hear you.
That's I'm not going to have my face stuck in a position like that because it's extremely unpleasant. So I'm going to switch to another camera, which is fine. I can do that. But I do think, and I'll say this, I do think that the fans, if you win a big game late, you should be emotional about it. Of course you should. How
about if you draw level in a game? Like I remember this Crystal Palace game a couple years ago that I was at, and Lacazette scores a goal in like the 93rd minute, and it was to avoid an unfortunate loss and brought us into a draw. I mean, are these rules that we have to follow, or can we just be happy when something good happens?
You should just be happy, right? I mean, like, isn't that the whole point? And I mean, I guess what I would ask you, Ian, is like, are we talking about, like, Oh no!
Well, we lost them.
Did you kick him out because he called you Ian?
We're talking about practice.
Are we talking about like the fans or the players? Because I do think that sometimes, as a player, like the celebrations are organic; they're not planned. But if I said this on the podcast, I really feel at times like we have played. Oh, there we go. We have played the season like every time we attack, we're trying to score the goal to win the Champions League final. You can feel the pressure on these players, right? We're not there isn't that sort of relaxed calm in the final third that you need to be effective. So I can actually connect to the suggestion that we are not that we may be too emotional. I think that's youth. I think it'll come with experience. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think it's the celebrating wins that means you're too emotional. No. I think it's the weight of the world on their shoulders. And I think you can read it coming off of them at times. And so that, yes, I think there's a bit to that. I don't think it has anything to do with the fans though. Like the joy of being a fan is celebrating a late winner. I would take 38 late winners and I'd celebrate each one bigger than the next one. Like that's the joy of it, you know?
What it's literally so irrelevant. What, I mean, you got fans talking, to other fans on bulletin boards and on Prodigy,
just AOL online.
Yeah, exactly. Like why are
MSN Messenger? Yeah.
Why are you getting so excited that we won? Messenger. We should be winning these games. And I'm like, separate the players and the fans. The players acting like they won the Champions League every time that they draw level in a game, fine, but nothing that a fan does other than support their team with positivity and energy and love, nothing that a fan does or doesn't do is going to impact, act like you've been there before as a fan is just, it's just dumb. Yeah. It has nothing to do with anything.
Can I suggest something? And this is something I would love for us to kind of discuss for a moment, because is it the fact that maybe because we've gone through the banter era, and I feel welly and truly as a fan base, we have been humbled, and maybe we're just a little too nice. We let them sit there and pick on us for celebrating too hard, when the reality is you're picking on us because you're Manchester United and you're 11th and you're bad. You're picking on us, Chelsea, because you're 12th and you're bad, and you're so used to letting us be the butt of the joke. But the reality is when, for once, we went into that game at the Emirates with Manchester United, and there was a gulf in class, just like when we used to go to City or we used to go to Liverpool. Manchester United weren't in that game, and we got to slap them. Is it time for this fan base who, like, look at what we did last year? Sure, we didn't go all the distance, but is it time for us to maybe get our chests out and say to them, like, hey, listen, you're just not on our level anymore. Maybe start to respond to some of the ways that the media and other fan bases criticize us with a little swagger and a little pizzazz, because when it comes down to it, they're worse than us. We haven't been in this position in a while, but they are legitimately worse within us. I've never seen a Chelsea team this bad. I've never seen a United team this bad. Liverpool haven't even been this bad in years. So I don't know. That's me. Do we need to gain maybe a little backbone, a little swagger in the way that we move through these spaces?
I mean, can't hurt, right? I'm
with the pimp stick. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Look, ultimately, I think the single biggest thing we do as fans is overrate our own influence on what happens, on the outcome. I mean, they call Manchester City's stadium the Empty Head. Yeah. It has no atmosphere. That does not hold them back. They dominate all and sundry, right? Do I think raucous support can help a team? I do. Do I think it's the last 50% or the last 1%? I think it's the last 1%, right? So while I want us to be behind the team and I want us to have the confidence as fans, to have that swagger, to know we're good, to believe we're good, what did they call Highbury for years? What was its nickname? Highbury, right? Didn't seem to hold us back when we were the best squad. We have built now, I think, the second best squad in the league, but they're young. They're going to have to grow up to knowing they're good and realizing they're better than everybody else out there. And by the way we play, I think that's coming. I really think that's coming. So while I think support is important, I think it's that last 1 or 2% as opposed to that last 50%. And don't get me wrong, there are definitely teams and games and situations you see where the support helps a specific player, a specific game. It can really matter. Like we've seen that. It's funny though, because we memory hold the ones where it doesn't matter. Like I can think of a Wolves game where we held on to beat them and their support was going absolutely mad. It was a raucous environment. We might've been down to 10 men in that game, I want to say. And we held on. Yeah, 2 seasons ago. Sounds about right. I just remember the red-faced Wolves supporter behind glass trying to get to the away
that's what I was thinking of.
Meme to infinity. So yeah, you know what, Aston? Like the best thing you could do if you go to the ground, for example, right, is just full-throated support for 90 minutes. It can't hurt. But I think if you build the most talented squad, more often than not, the talent wins out. I think more often than not.
I'm going to have to stop you here. It's definitely the quote tweets. It's definitely the quote tweets.
The quote tweets went out.
Yeah. I mean, whoever gets the most quote tweets wins. Like that's what Twitter told me, at least.
If that was the case, like our trophy cabinet would be like completely full, because we run Twitter.
See, just to play devil's advocate here, lads, is what Aston was saying about walking around with our chest puffed out and the fact that we are better than these teams, and some sections of the fan base might say that we haven't been overly impressive at all. At the start of this season, the Forest game, we were pretty clinging on pretty badly towards the end of that game. That we talked about emotion. Everything seems a little desperate, for probably more so than where we'd want to be at this stage of the season. Players like Kai Havertz have, again, some sections of the fan base sitting on the end of their seat with their pitchforks waiting that Everton game to see if he retains his spot. What are your concerns, if any, Elliot, for the start of this season? Or are you starting to look at this like the way everybody talks about Man City being slow starters and they peak at the right times of the season? What have you made to the start of the season as a whole?
Individual games, you'll get caught up in the emotion of how they flow, and that can take away perspective. And this is going to bore people senseless, but this is where I think data can be helpful, because data can tell you a little bit if your emotional experience to the game matches what really happened. And by and large, what the data will tell you is we've been really good this season. We're dominating possession. We're dominating chances. We're suppressing shots. We're creating good chances. We're right behind Manchester City on XG, expected goals created, and we're right behind Manchester City on expected goals allowed, second in the league. We've been unlucky in some respects in that, 7 times in the last year, the first shot of the game has gone in against us.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, that tells you that maybe we need to start better, but it also tells you it just hasn't broken for us recently. And then here's the other thing. Like, for example, I think everyone's been impressed with how Eddie Nketiah has played, right? I don't think anybody would say Eddie Nketiah is the center forward you need to go win a title in the Premier League. He's our backup striker, and he's done the job well. We saw a little flavor of what Gabriel Jesus can be, right? What's that level going to be, right? What's that level going to be? If you swapped Haaland and Eddie Nketiah, if Eddie Nketiah was the striker for City and Haaland was our striker, how would our... And this is not an anti-Eddie thing. It's more the point that, like, we lost Timber, and then we played Kivior, and then we played Tomiyasu, and Zinchenko wasn't available. Zinchenko came in and suddenly saw how we dominated territory against United. And because we didn't have Zinchenko, what did we do? We took our starting central midfielder and Partey, and we inverted him out of the right back position. And we played our backup striker, right? And we tried to integrate a new left 8 in Havertz, and we tried to integrate a new number 6 in Rice, who's been brilliant. But all of that has been happening in the beginning of the season. And we're acting like we should just hit the ground running, like nothing ever changed. It's a lot of disruption, and we've handled it. I mean, if we don't ship a corner kick goal stupidly to Fulham, we're on 12 points. What are we complaining about? And now Jesus is back, and now Zinchenko is back, and now Rice is integrated. And you know what? If Havertz doesn't click, we'll play Vieira or we'll play Trossard, and we still haven't seen nearly the best of Martinelli or Saka yet. So what I would say is we've seen the kind of performances of a team that's dominant in the way it plays, but maybe hasn't had its absolute best players all clicking together at once. And now we're going to get a look at that. And I think it's going to open some eyes, frankly. You know?
And I think that to that point, and I wish a lot of people would take a step back and kind of see what's going on. Mikel Arteta, last year, we got on his back because we had the most selected 11 in the Premier League. We only had so many players that we could rely on. So what did we do? We went out, we got a bunch of players. We talked about us only having a plan A. We don't have a plan B. Well, Mikel Arteta is working all the way down to plan Z right now. And we just need to give him time in the lab to experiment. If we are if we are blowing up our team right now, and these are the results of that, long may it continue, because if this is our floor, then that's just a great place to be. Personally, but I do think that on the flip side of that, I do think that, and you know, it's the truth is always somewhere in the middle, right? Whereas we can say that, okay, maybe we can look at these performances and maybe we can say that objectively, when I look at this performance, X, Y, and Z happened and that wasn't perfect. That doesn't mean that the team is bad, that we need to fire all the players, get rid of Mikel Arteta, but that does mean that we can say, hey, listen, I noticed that we can improve in this way or that way. Maybe we notice, again, when we talk about the Kai Havertz thing, my thing with Kai Havertz is I don't think he's as influential in the game as he needs to be. Get his touches up, get his passes up, get him more involved. That doesn't mean that Kai Havertz is the worst player in the world. You know, Partey playing at right back, it seems like he had a couple of decision-making issues of when to be in the center mid space, when to be in the right back space. That doesn't mean that that's completely unplayable because he made a couple of mistakes the first time we tried him there. So I just think that you're right that we need to approach everything kind of with a little, like, a sense of fun. Enjoy it. I mean, we get to see a lot of wild stuff. Like, when did you ever think you would see a fullback playing this way? When did you ever think that Kai Havertz would be playing in 8 position, or that we would be playing this ludicrous, like, one center back in the back while everybody's in front of him, like, and our goalkeepers playing as another center back in the build? It's fun. Enjoy it. And I get that the expectation's high. I get that we all want silverware. But at the same time, if we're not enjoying the games, if we're not enjoying what we're seeing, then why are we supporting the club?
I mean, I will always engage with thoughtful critique because I was a leader of that club for a long time. I mean, you know, that comment, Elliot not being the doomer, is interesting.
Is that what doomer means?
Yeah. I mean, well, maybe he meant to say boomer, but you know, I don't know.
Okay, boomer.
But,
doomer pill's a thing. Doomer pill's a thing that the young kids say.
Is it? I mean, they got so many pills they're taking now. They got the red pilled and they're white pilled and they're blue pilled and
red pills and
pills for the bedroom and pills for there's just so many pills.
Pills for when I see Elliot and
yeah. I mean, you know, but I think this is the point, though. I think if you're criticizing, I'll always engage with that. but I want the criticism to make sense. So for me, for a long time, the criticism was, I don't think we're playing the right way. I don't think our distances are right. I don't think we control the ball enough. I don't think we control territory enough. Like with Emery, why are we sitting back? Why do we have 30 shots allowed against us against Watford? You know, why are our distances wrong, or we don't have the next progressive pass to make? So when we're having 70% possession and 90% field tilt and more of the XG and less of the XGs, expected goals allowed, and we're taking more shots and we're playing in the right areas, I'm not going to criticize just for the sake of it, right? I think we have been poor in our final third execution. That's what I think. And I think we are still vulnerable on the counter, because I think at times we're a little bit naive, and when we step up and it's crazy how fine the margins are. Partey steps up at the wrong moment and we concede a goal the other way. Bukayo Saka plays a back pass because Partey is vacated, because we're still learning him inverting off the right, and we fall behind to Fulham, and we play out 3/4 of that game down a goal. Those little margins, like, they can be frustrating, but I don't think they signify systemic challenges with the way we play. I guess I look at it this way. I like the squad we have, and I trust the system that we built. So I think those two things will eventually lead to a positive outcome. Now, the real problem is we could have hit 88 points this season and finished 10 points off the title. What will the narrative be? Will the narrative be not good enough, Mikel, not good enough, Edu? Will if I offered you 88 points right now, would you take it and see where the chips fall? I probably would. But that's the challenge of the Premier League. It's not just about what you do, right? And we have a uniquely difficult opponent to overcome.
I do want to say something that's so beautiful about what I'm hearing in a lot of your voices. This is the first time I've heard this in a while in this fan base. This is faith, belief. It's beautiful. It really is something fun. Something I want to let's do a quick fire. Let's do a quick fire thing. I had a little ideas, because since we are talking about the temperature, let's talk about the temperature around certain players. I'll name a player, and what I would like from you guys is give me what you think their greatest strength is and what you would like to see them improve the most. And we'll just go through the list, and it'll just be a fun thing. So I'm going to go ahead and start it off with somebody that I think is going to be very hard for you. Owen, tell me, what is Saka's greatest strength, and what is his greatest weakness that he needs to improve?
Greatest strength, she's take her pick, dribbling, shooting, everything. His whole attacking game. His weakness, though, I will say, is, and I think he gets off of this quite a bit, is at times he can be slightly lackluster defensively in his positioning. That happens with those types of players, though. It's just a natural part of the game that's so hard to weed out. Yeah, sometimes he does leave his full back slightly exposed, so that's something I would like to see him sort of sharpen up on a little.
Okay. So you think a little defensively he needs to gain it up. So you would say you want to see Saka put a foot in more often?
Just no defensive position and not letting his man run off him as much, because then obviously Ben White gets overloaded. Yeah, so that's where I would say his weakness falls.
Let's talk about his partner in crime. No, not Ben White. Let's do Martin Odegaard. Elliot.
Strength, cheekbones.
Yes,
I think
Kendall hair.
Yeah, pretty hard to argue with that. Weakness, maybe skin tone, could tan a little bit, like quite pale. I just feel like I'd trust him more if he had a bit more of if he was more tan complected.
What about facial
I get
hair?
these Nordic. Yeah, maybe a beard, like a big ass. Can you imagine like a big ass bushy blonde beard on Martin Odegaard? His strength, I actually think, might be his shooting. Like, it's not what we would have thought, but his finishing, his shooting, like he strikes a ball absolutely beautifully, and he's showing a willingness to take on that responsibility more. The other strength, in addition to cheekbones and shooting, his engine. Like, I just think the way he works back for the team is really impressive. In terms of a weakness,
it doesn't necessarily have to be a weakness. You can just want him to improve it. Yeah.
I think everybody in the front five right now needs to improve in this picking the right option in the final third right now has not been good. Against United, Odegaard took his shot on a lot when there were better options. Now, the one time it winds up in the back of the net, you're pretty happy he did. And I want him to keep shooting. And he had another shot deflected for the corner that Rice scores. So pretty good outcome from his shots. But overall, I think he's too talented, too smart, and too effective in the final third not to start picking the right option every time. Like, I look at the impact De Bruyne has on City, you know, and he can absolutely be at that level. I think the talent is there to be at that level. So I would just say the decision-making, everything he does at a high level of technique. Now just make the right decision, you know?
I like that. I think that it's hard to say because I feel like he is probably the only creative team. Sometimes I feel like we need another creative passer in the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
To kind of lay that off of him. But Mike, okay, let's go to the other flank, Mike. Let's do Martinelli.
His strength is his engine. I mean, for a while, it was said that he looked like he was running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and he did. Like, you could see that he like the desire was there, the energy was there, but it was not yet refined yet. And I think we were so thirsty at that time to see somebody with that kind of energy and drive after the Mustafis of the world, after, you know, the issues that we had just had for so many years, that we loved the passion. And that's why when he came back from his injury, played a little bit, kept lying on the ground crying basically every time he got touched, because I think he was having a little PTSD about the injury situation, you know. And then Arteta really kind of took him out of the fire for a long, long time in favor of Willian. I think we all kind of, you know, just assumed that passion and that energy was a positive all the time. But in that time, he trained, he practiced, he learned how to harness it a little bit more. And now he is much, much closer to being the complete winger. You know, he's still got some improving to do, but his engine has never been in question. I mean, a little bit of luck, but that goal he scored against Chelsea from basically his own 18 all the way down for the goal will always be when his coming out party.
I will never, ever, ever, ever forgive VAR for taking away the goal at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah,
never forgive it.
Were you at that game? It was Sophie that was at that game same time that I was. I could not believe that ended up happening, because we were absolutely in ecstasy at that point. Probably felt very much the same way as a lot of United fans felt the other day when Garnacho scored. But his weakness, probably in his maturity. And I don't mean necessarily just football maturity and decision making and stuff, because I've just gone through a whole diatribe about how he's improved upon that over the years. But you know, he's still raw. He's still a young kid. And you know, as much as I've seen Bukayo Saka's maturity on the pitch and what you see of it off the pitch just go through the roof in the last 2 years, Martinelli, you don't necessarily see that as much. You still consider him a raw talent, just a much more refined raw talent than he was when he first started getting minutes. You know, I'm not going to give the tactical weaknesses and strengths because I'm just not that guy.
He's got to get his head up a little bit, right? I mean, it's weird, right? For a guy who gets his head down when he dribbles, he still finds his teammates enough. I mean, he had a great assist, obviously, against United for Odegaard's goal. You know, get your head up. You can't stop him getting to the byline. And I think he can do more with those opportunities when he gets there. So, yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to the thing you were saying before about just making the right choice. Sometimes he floats a pass when he should have just, you know, drilled it across. Sometimes, you know, he tries a quick little pass instead of, you know, floating one that he should. So I think another interesting one to talk about will be for you, Eoin, William Saliba.
And by the way, we've got to make this the last one because we've got the final 10 minutes and the housekeeping that we need to do with the draw and stuff. So let's do Saliba and then we'll move on to that.
No worries.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, look, he's an absolute Rolls Royce of a defender. You know, on the ball, he's basically flawless and 1v1 defending is fantastic. I think maybe where he can mature slightly is much like Martinelli, just a sense of maturity. Which, look, he's still a kid. You know, what age is he? 21, 22. He's still got a lot of development to do. Sometimes he'll rush out when maybe he doesn't need to. Sometimes he'll try to overplay the ball at times. But do you want to know, and this is something I think a good point to finish on, one of the great things, and it isn't that you can't be critical, it's that I find it so hard to be critical of our players, because players like Saka, Martinelli, William, Saliba, there's a caveat when you have any criticism for them, because it's when you put it into context, it's so understandable that they still don't have that fully complete, round, perfectly sculpted game yet. And that's the beautiful thing about this squad, as Elliot mentioned earlier. With the average age of this squad, 2-3 years at least, you want to see these guys all growing together, and eventually, you know, we were doing our combined, our all-time 11 earlier, and who's to say that a lot of these guys won't end up getting into it with the sort of trajectory that they're on?
You know, that's a good one, but the right answer to what Saliba, the negatives, obviously
his timing of his videos.
Yeah, he has to stop taking as many videos of teenage men masturbating.
Yeah,
literally, we have not been able to mention Saliba without him saying that in the last year. It's been just a year.
That feels more like a mic problem. Just,
yeah,
you know,
that's what I was just going to say. I was going to say, isn't it so funny that a 50-year-old
he took the video and I keep watching
have the same problem?
Yeah, I mean, you're forever young, I guess. You know.
So, as was just pointed out in the chat, we have over 200 people live heard me make that ridiculous comment yet again, and I love to see the numbers. Please, if you're here and you haven't done it yet, please go to goonersvcancer.com. It's the reason that we're all here today, tonight, tomorrow afternoon. We're about to finish 8 hours consecutive of podcasting, and we're nowhere near done yet. But we're going to pick a prize, and the prize for this hour is it's a good one, a new 23-24 Arsenal kit. So you can win a new kit. It's one of the the home, the away, if you dare, or the third shirt, and we're going to draw a winner for that right now from our many donors who in the week of the podcast have now taken us officially over $10,000. We're at $10,325 for the Pod-A-Thon week. So fantastic outcome so far, and we're still going strong. So to pick a winner of the new 23-24 jersey of your choice, the randomizer has selected. On your randomizer, COYD or COYR. Don't know what I thought D stood for, but the winner of the jersey is Damien Chua. Damien Chua. Oh, I'm gonna have fun shipping that. I believe Damien lives in Malaysia. Damien, let's see, Damien Chua. Yep, from Jurong, which I think is from Malaysia. And if you don't think it's from Malaysia, you're wrong. Actually, sorry, it's from Singapore.
Wow.
So, yeah, sorry. There was someone that donated from Malaysia, and I thought that was them. So, Damien, congratulations. You have won a new Arsenal kit just for,
by the way,
participating and donating.
Just for what it's worth, because it's an interesting coincidence, that random picker website that you have up there.
Yep.
That's what Pochettino uses for the Chelsea team on match days. Yeah. So.
I was gonna say, have we not spent enough? I tried to segue into it, but have we not spent enough time shitting on Chelsea? Because we really
not yet. We had a little bit of it in the first hour with Gab Marcotte.
59 minutes would not be enough in my view, but
yeah. See, that's the problem. Certain topics like that. I mean, we only have 1 hour segments on this for the most part. So maybe Mike Hernandez in a couple hours when he's heading up his own boys on the podcast can talk about Chelsea. But we We are going to move into our next hour. So first, I wanted to say to you, Elliot, thank you so much, as always, for your incredible support, your friendship, and for being with us for this hour. And
do I get parting comments, or am I just gone? I'm just.
No. I'm going to say thank you so that I could then shut up and let you say what you want to say. But no, you are always very supportive of us. I hope you feel supported by us as well in everything that you do, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you over these last few years. And I'm just sorry that we're not going to be able to hang out anymore together, according to my wife.
Ever. So first of all, I assume the only reason I was invited back on was to pronounce Owen's name as Ian, because I do it pretty much every time I'm on.
You're very good at it.
Yeah, I'm quite good at it. It's my talent. It
was actually specifically so Owen had somebody that he was taller than.
I mean, how do you know though? I'm this close to the top. That could be any
Everybody
amount.
Everybody just assumes I'm small.
I'm quite small. Here, I am this tall.
I am this high. Our next guests are in the backstage area, just like, what are we walking into right here?
So, I am going to get this out before I go away. I'm going to say first, Mike, you are relentless in the best possible way imaginable. You are infectious. You force everybody who knows you to love you. You love everybody in return. You are the best hang. You support the best causes. You provide the greatest friendship, and you are a great human. I am proud to know, thankful to be close to, and look forward to seeing everywhere I go, because you are always there. And you know the poem Footprints that they sometimes talk about Jesus. He says, the footprints in the sand, like.
How would I know about
there was only one set of footprints, because that's when I carried you.
Okay. I'll take your word for it, Jew.
There is a deep set of footprints beside me at all times, because you are always there. And I appreciate you.
I mean that's very much appreciated. Thank you. I mean, I didn't think I was going to cry on the podcast until the end, but now he's getting bigger.
Keep going. Keep
Elliot,
going.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
If this is a Manscaped advert, please don't get your genitals.
It was about to be.
No, you have to ask them the 4 questions.
Oh, geez, 4 questions. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna ask you the 4 questions, but before doing that, we'll have the crossover real quick. So, guys, I'm about to bring you on our next hour's guests. We're very fortunate to have Pedro, aka LeGrove.
Hey.
Pedro,
oh, geez, just blew my ears off there. How's it going? I got so excited to see all these faces.
And Matt Candela, Pedro and Matt of the Arsenal Opinion, and of course Pedro, the editor of LeGrove. We're just going to ask. You know what we're going to do? We're going to ask all 3 of you these questions so that we don't get stuck at the end with me forgetting to ask you these questions. So we're just going to start you right off the bat with 4 questions. And the questions
we got to warm up quick.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing the end at the beginning, and then at the very end, I'm going to introduce both of you. No, the 4 questions are your top 6 in any order, your Ballon d'Or winner, your first manager to get sacked this season in the Premier League, and then some out of left field prediction that you wouldn't normally have said for what's going to happen in the world of football this year. So, Elliot, your top 6.
Top 6. Arsenal, Brighton, Brentford, Villa, Newcastle. My Ballon d'Or winner, Kai Havertz.
Come on.
Wait, no, I'm not allowed to do it this way. I got to do the real one. Okay,
fine. But you can do the top 6 that way. But Havertz didn't make the shortlist, so I don't think he's eligible.
Okay, I thought we meant the next Ballon d'Or. The Ballon d'Or winner would be Lionel Messi, even though it should be Haaland. What do I have to do? A random prediction from the football world?
Just something kind of wacky that would not be expected.
Wacky that will not be expected. I think
can't do that one, the first manager to get sacked.
First manager to be sacked, Eric Ten Hag.
Okay.
My man.
And the wacky prediction.
Wacky prediction is that
he'll take a dump at Carrington on his way out.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise that wouldn't be wacky. That I could see. God, what's a good wacky prediction? Wacky prediction is Manchester City will
sell out again.
Manchester City will not win the Premier League this season. My wacky prediction.
Well, they weren't in your top 6, so that's almost understood. All right,
No.
Elliot, thanks so much. We'll get you out here. Appreciate your time. Give my best to your lovely family.
I will. Good to see
Take
you.
care.
Have a good time, everyone.
Hey Gooners, this is Alan Smith.
This is Kevin Campbell.
Lee Dixon.
Colin Lewin.
It's Gary Lewin.
Charles Watts.
Dan Potts. James Benge.
Danny.
Tom from the Gooner Talk here.
Ryan O'Cross.
Simon Collins, you may know me from the Evening Standard.
You may know me for my time at Arsenal.
You may know me from Arsenal or even the Highbury squad.
From Birdcat Wonderland.
Being that physio sat on the bench next to Arsenal with my rubber gloves on.
The former Arsenal physio.
The Emirates press box, from writing, from Twitter.
From goal.com, from Twitter, from YouTube.
Football is the beautiful game and it brings us all together.
Sometimes there are things even more important than wins and losses.
And yes, even transfers.
Every 30 seconds, someone in this world gets diagnosed with blood cancer.
The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society works towards curing blood cancers
and provides support to families currently dealing with these diseases.
Gooners vs Cancer was started in 2017
by a lifelong Gooner who lost his father to leukemia way too young.
Since 2017, Gunners v Cancer has raised
over $75,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
And we need your help to keep the fundraising going in this year's campaign.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
Every donation helps.
No matter the size.
And every donation enters you into the Gooner raffle,
where you have a great chance to win amazing Arsenal prizes,
including game tickets, stadium tours,
signed men and women's shirts,
and maybe a retro signed shirt by yours truly, Lee Dixon.
Me, yours truly.
Yours truly, Super Kev Campbell.
So much more.
It's easy to take part.
Just go to www.goonersvcancer.com
and donate directly to the charity.
Pick the raffle prizes you want to enter to win,
and wait for the drawings at the end of the campaign.
Again, that's www.goonersversuscancer.com.
We all know that victory grows out of harmony.
Victory grows out of harmony.
Victory grows out of harmony.
With your help, we'll be victorious against blood cancer once and for all.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks for your support.
Thanks for your support.
Thank you for your support.